Oh, we're starting it up. Both of us, Lister and I, found a common ground. I started lighting this Palo Santo, and then Lister showed me that he has one too. So we are purifying the space for this beautiful interview to happen. Man, um, yeah, Lister, what's going on, man?
Oh, all good here. I don't know. Do you want me to? Well, hi. My name is Lister Rossel. I'm introducing myself here.
You should.
I'm a music producer, originally from Chile. I live in and work in London. I work for a production company called West One Music. I've been working as a music producer and audio producer for nearly 20 years. I started in, no, I started in 2011 officially. So that's not 20, but I've been doing music since I was in high school. So that's more than 20 years. Um, Started in a band, funk band, instrumental, um, performed for 20 years. And then that's where I learned most of um, my my criteria as a musician. I was very lucky to be surrounded by great people who I learned with, and but in the time and at the same time, I also studied advertising. My family were like, creative industries are tough. How about if you get it? You're creative. How about if you give it a try in advertising? So I did work in advertising for a couple of years, which is what I studied, and then went back into music as a music producer, starting working producing music for adverts and that, but always in the hand of my own creative work as a composer, working always with singers and instrumentalists. So it's been kind of like a journey in many ways. And yeah, that's a bit me. I can always, there's always details about the story, but sorry if I extended too much on that. But uh, yeah, my name is Lister, and nice to meet you, Roy. It's just
Hell yeah.
great to have a chat, a coffee, and sharing a moment with you.
Hell yeah. It's amazing to have you on, man. I feel real privileged, and I feel like a lot of people probably know about West One, and yeah, and it's just seeing how you. I mean, you're everywhere, right? Like as we're going to speak about your trajectory to this point, and I like that the fact that you gave me kind of the cliff notes of what happened, but it's interesting to me to hear because I've also listened to your music, and your music's really beautiful and really clean and really just like lovely to listen to, and my main fascination with you, Lister, was the ability to kind of mix the production, composition, and all of that with the ability to be an A&R and not in the so-called in the center of everything, right? Like now you are more you're overseeing so many projects, right? Am I right?
Yes.
So I mean, I would love for you to maybe talk explain that your trajectory from making music, like being in funk bands, um, to starting to transition into the place where you're not the performer anymore. What
Yeah.
did that take from you? Like, what did that take from you? Did you ever have doubts in moving away from that? Like, where how do you find the balance within all that?
That's such a good question. Um, because it ends up very being very personal. And I think a lot of people who's been in the same situation feel in a similar way when we discuss about this. I guess so. To answer to your question, how it's been the transition from being the composer, performer, and then becoming a producer, A&R, you know, I see everything as a craft. So it's like a I always take this analogy of film directors. So in film, like when you're having like a good film director from what we call cinema, this not the Hollywood industry, which is like very narrowed in certain roles, but these
Mm-hmm.
filmmakers that do a bit of everything because they have notions of sound, of art direction, of editing, of acting. I think is very similar to my present role as a A&R and producer, which is a bit step back from putting my hands in the music. I think is to do this, it helps a lot to have the previous experience in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I started as a I personally never studied music initially. Like it wasn't in my plan. There wasn't any musician in my
Mm.
family at that point. After me, I have like four of my brothers who are nine are professional musicians. Um, but at that point, there was uh, I was lucky to I got very into hip hop, which is a very good starting point if you don't have a particular musical background because it's about expression. So I got into it, and it's very easy to do or easy to get in. So if you have lyrics and you want to kind of throw it in, you that's a good way. So that's how I got into music, and then we started making these beats. We with me and my friends. At that point, there wasn't any Fruity Loops or Pro Tools was super expensive and it was super niche and sound generating. So we started doing beats with video editors. One that it was called DD
Mm.
Clip.
Wow.
Um, so but the interface is very similar. So we were like just chopping and that's the way how we started. And then when we expanded into making these beats, translating them into music with a band, and that's when the funk band Rapaces started. It was these were jazz musicians, so we started kind of combining the groove with the harmonic and the harmonies and yeah. Then after that, performing 10 years, and when the band split, I wanted to continue doing music, and I was super keen to do my first album. And I took the at that point I was already working in advertising. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
very good position as a creative, but I was like, oh, I really want to do music. So I moved to Argentina, just to have a bit of space. Started composing my first album, and that was also a good moment to question myself and say, hey, actually this is what I love. So that made me make this decision to really go for it. And yeah, that first album was very meaningful. um, and then after that I felt that it was like I performed 10 years, I produced my first album, but I don't feel it was so intense, that I realized I don't feel the type of I don't think I'm the right person to feel so strong emotions all the time. Like,
Mm.
because composing, I was putting I was doing it very personally. So write the songwriting lyrics. It was actually lyrics that I was experiencing like very deep.
Yeah.
So it was like two strong feelings to live, and to depend on that is quite intense.
Yeah.
So it was okay. I if I work as a producer, I don't have to be kind of getting into like squeezing my soul all the time.
Yeah.
I can take my time, but and I still gonna do it, but I don't feel comfortable squeezing my soul to get the food for the everyday.
Yeah.
I still can use my energy. Like producing music is, I put my heart on it,
Yeah.
but it's way faster because I also get very um, perfectionist when it's about my own songwriting and performing. So it's like, okay, this is something that I want to do on the side on the time that it takes. uh, and music, I can produce like very easily. I can At that point I had like 500 beats like created. It was like it was so natural to do music, so it was like it was very natural to get into producing with and working with other artists. And yeah, now the creative process is great because I still use some of the um, the similar processes that I had with myself. Like, okay, I'm gonna work with concepts, and so when I speak with a songwriter, it's like, okay, we're gonna work with this concept. Here's a starting point for your lyrics, and then they go like straight away. So I'm still present on that in that sense. And that's the creative side. The technical side, the mixing, the mastering. I i was lucky enough to well, while living in Chile, then I moved to Minneapolis, to for 2 years, where I lived um, uh, in the Midwest, and that was a great experience because it was like a being in the States. It was excellent because the role of a producer is kind of very developed, and when
Hmm.
I arrived to the US, they were like very open for me to get on board. I got
Who's they?
well, I work with a couple of musicians and people. So I work with a singer called Tolliver, Jonathan Tolliver. He's an amazing gospel singer. I work with another composer called Jonathan John Keston. We produce an album called Icicles, and yeah, it was a great experience. I also produce other commercial tracks. I also collaborated with a band called Moon and Pollution, with O'Brien, amazing producer. Shout out to him. Excellent. I mean, I love the people in Minneapolis, and I got very good. I was mentored by Craig Rice, former manager of Prince and George
Wow.
Clinton and Diana Ross, and he kind of gave me some advice as well at that stage, where I was like, oh well, you know, sometimes you might get a very dogmatic position to say, oh well, you're not a musician if you can't write music. And I was like, well, actually, I can do it. I just give me a computer and I'll do it, or I can take anything and compose. And he was like, when I spoke with him, it was like, yeah, you don't have to be, uh, you know, the person writing everything in the paper. Just if you can make it, sound, that's it. And that validation at that point from that person so involved in the industry was great too. He connected me later with Maurice Hayes, music director of Prince, um, and 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 we collaborated as well. Um, and yeah, Minneapolis was a great like stage for me to develop my own kind of self confidence as well as a
Mm,
producer. Then after the 2 years, I decided to learn the things that I didn't know much about music production, and that's when I applied for a scholarship in the UK here, and just to specialize in learn more about mixing, mastering, and the whole process. Because I initially studied advertising, and part of my university degree was in that field, but having the experience already doing music on a professional level. So um, I got the scholarship, came to the UK, and basically I got two offers from two universities, but my first option was in London, so that's why I came here. And just rounding what your question, the process from being a performer to become a person who slightly outside, but understanding the language of musicians, and basically this is my community. This is the people that I've been dealing with since I was 17 years old. So a lot of the people that I work with is either people that I know, because we crossed paths and collaborated at some point, um,
hmm
or um, or people that I understand their vision, um, or either we are still crossing paths because things haven't ended yet. So I'm still living, and things still happening in my life, which is great because I'm still always discovering new people and connecting with new artists, and uh, writing a new story, basically. I guess that
Yeah.
answers. I hope that answers a bit the question. It's like,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me, it's been very natural to to stay where I am, in the sense that it is connected with the beginnings,
With the
and
same people.
now not necessarily the same people. As I said, it's like I'm still discovering new people. I'm crossing paths with new people, and that's kind of the beauty of this kind of journey. Um,
Mm,
and it makes it more interesting as well, because if it was working with always with the same people, you will get a bit stuck in one particular type of sound, and that is the refreshing thing of working now, and as a A&R and a producer as well, is also that I'm refreshing my taste and evolving with the vision of the people that I'm uh, interacting with.
interesting. So, do you think that because that's again that it's I feel like it's a pretty unique perspective to have because not all A&Rs are musicians or maybe I'm off. Like maybe I don't know uh what I'm talking
Mm.
about, but I feel like not all A&Rs are maybe ex-musicians at some point, but it feels like you are an active musician, like and you're doing the A&R thing. So let's let me just throw another curveball. What does A&Ring bring into your field as a musician?
I think it's being open to discover new sounds and new visions. The essence of the role is, one is your your connections in a way are kind of important, because you need to have good relationship with the people in order to collaborate and make things happen. um So yeah, I think it's like the A&R role is basic. I think it helps a lot to speak the language of the musicians,
Mhm.
to understand their concerns, their sensitivities, and you don't have. I don't think you need to be particularly a musician. I think you need to understand the what, like, first what is your, what is the reason why you're trying to do something together,
Mhm.
because you need to understand if there's a commercial brief, you still need to be able to connect. Oh, I have this mission, and I need to connect it with the right person, and this is the right
Right.
person. It's not. I think yes. So I think it's like you need to understand the personality, and just be able to connect with the people. I think that the role of producer is slightly different, and this combination of A&R and producer is kind of like a interesting one, because it is in the same world. In the end, it's like, oh, I know this person, or I think this person, or I'll look for this person. So the
Mm.
three different angles, uh, but then how are we gonna do it? How long do we need to,
Mm.
how long it will take, how we're going to do it technically. In my role, I work mainly with international productions, so that's the reason why I'm kind of like a bit all over the place, because
Yeah.
uh, I'm working with one of the labels called Somos, which is focused in Latin American music. So that it means that we are connecting with musicians from that region. And um, but in the other hand, I'm working also with Asia Record Collective, which is a
Um,
label focused on Asia. So it's like China, Japan, uh, Indonesia, India,
mm.
Thailand. So it is, and also I'm working with what people call rest of the world, which is
Right.
Africa, Middle East, and and also Spain as well. But that's like a, Hispanic region. Um, so yeah, it's like you need to be able to understand, speak the language, and I think finding common grounds, what makes, and also yeah, I think the A&R on an international context is very, very, very niche, very specific, because each culture has a different approach to
Mm.
negotiations, to music production, to contracting. To it is slightly complex, but it is a good challenge. And to me, it's like
Yeah.
I find myself. I feel probably you might feel something similar. I don't know. Don't want to put words on you, but I do feel that I'm kind of an international person. Like I'm from Chile, but I've been living abroad. I live in New York, Minneapolis, in the States. I lived in Argentina. I'm living here in the UK, and that's been like, it's been a long time. And my mindset is slightly different than, for instance, a person who's been living only in one region, and each person defines its own culture, and that's something super interesting. And
Mm.
I think Bali must be so interesting, because I feel the people moving from one place to another, but still connected with their own culture, is something
Yeah.
of our times. And uh, people is developing their own culture. You choose and pick and choose what you feel is right as well. Your opinion, your mindset becomes your own decision in a way, and that's like
Mm.
super interesting, because yeah, your criteria will be different. And going back to what I was saying, this is very aligned with the role that I'm doing at the moment, which is like, I think that the fact that I've been kind of moving in different regions uh, makes me slightly more flexible, less, I, I'm more open to the difference. Also, living in London, London is great. I love London because it's a like old Rome, in the sense like you get a lot of different cultures
Hmm.
in one place, and you need to develop also sometimes like the openness to the difference, because every person brings their own background into the table, and that is a that's what I love about the city, for instance. So yeah, I think that kind of I hope that answers is very specific to the A&R, but A&R in the international context. Uh,
Yeah,
but I hope that
yeah.
kind
I
of.
mean, it explains you, to be honest, like more than anything, like the job as an A&R, this is again, and I don't know if that is the definition of A&R, but that's the definition that you've created, that you've embedded, that you are living, and that is your multicultural background is it's a continuation of that, where you get to pick and choose, you get to listen to things from different places and keep that curiosity alive, because you'll never understand every type of music, but at least you can be curious about what people bring to the table, which I think is very, very unique. And very it makes A&R sound more special to me, to be honest, and it makes it sound cooler than what I thought it would be.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it's like a you just pointed out that on your last phrase it doesn't have to be necessarily what is in the paper. It's just how you relate with the other, and if you have that sensitivity to understand that person, but also to be able to connect the being a bridge. I think that's like a if you want to be like uh, more specific, I think A&R is a bridge between two points, and
True.
you can find the formula. I mean, they're essentials, like day to day things, but the core will be like a connector.
Guys, you know that feeling when you're staring at your DAW and nothing's coming out? Or when you get a brief and just don't know how to approach it? Well, I've been there, and after more than 15 years of making music, I've hit more creative walls than I can count. And here's the kicker: being good at what you do is not always enough. Sometimes breakthroughs come from shifting your routine or trying a new framework. And sometimes it goes deeper: your relationships, the expectations you're carrying, the patterns that are holding you back. This can go real deep, but at times it's necessary to facilitate real growth. Because you're not just stuck on track, you're stuck in a way of thinking. I help creatives get more clarity and move towards the creative freedom they deserve. I'm currently offering a free discovery call for all my listeners. Visit roymatz.com/coaching to learn more about working with me one on one. roymatz.com/coaching. Mm, yeah, I was gonna ask, what is an what does an A&R mean? Like, to somebody, let's say somebody is listening to this podcast and they're like, well, A&R in sync, in like in advertisement, what does that mean? What does that even mean in an agency like West One? What would you answer to that?
Well, it is artist and repertoire, and
Yeah.
yeah, the A&R person is is the individual that will find the right artist for the for an specific project. I think that's it, and like in general terms.
Yeah.
And in the context of synchronization, but I think it applies also in major labels, and it's someone who's connecting, finding that person that will do the best job for that project.
Mm. So you get a project. What does it look like? Let's say you get Indian funk. You need Indian funk singers right now. Do you just like go to Spotify? Do you ask for recommendations? Do you like what does it look like for you if you got a weird brief that you do not know how to approach?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Like, this is something that makes it interesting, and life doesn't stop happening because you might
Yeah,
cross paths with people.
yeah,
So to me, it's like being very kind of alert
hmm,
to any sign that is happening, because to me, for instance, I've received a very similar Indian funk brief,
let's go.
and a couple months before that, I met someone on a music event, and he was like a hip hop producer from India,
Oh,
and
sick.
but we connected, on a human level.
Yeah,
It's just, you're nice, good. Shall we keep in touch? Yeah, great. If anything comes up, let's collaborate. I don't know where I'm gonna be, but I don't know what I have to offer right now. But you're kind of, that's the we just connected. That's why I'm like, basically I'm kind of open all the time, and if I hear anything, it's like,
mm,
oh, that sounds great. I love music, and that's the reason why I'm kind of breathing it all the time. And it's not that I'm looking for opportunities, so I'm kind of a workaholic. It is more,
yeah,
it is because I is what I vibe with. So I have it present all my life. Most of my decisions are related to music in a way, so it's like
mm,
it's always there. So
yeah,
I think that's what a A&R or a producer, a good producer is someone who's just knows who's the right person, but also with all these technical things that you need to know. But um, so opportunities come. Sometimes you don't know, you never know the this music, the music circles are slightly close in a way, especially if you move in certain level in the sense of quality. uh, so people kind of respect the sound of someone who does a good job as well. But as I said, you can connect with you might connect with someone who's the right person for that brief, and you might meet that person a month before, or a year before the brief comes to your hands.
mm,
Just to give you an example, I always wanted to produce a flamenco album. That was like one of my dreams since I was 17 years old.
wow.
It's like it's been always in my bucket list before I became a producer.
Hmm.
And in 2019, I went to Granada, Spain, which is Andalusia, the home of flamenco,
Hmm.
and I met two musicians, a singer and a guitarist, and I was like, wow, if someday I do an album, this is the people that I want to do it. Like, these are the, like, definitely. And last year I received a brief of a flamenco album,
Wow.
and straight away, immediately, I knew with who I was going to work with. and we've been working. We started working last year, and next week we are. I'm traveling to Granada to record this album, and it's a dream come true. Really, like it's
Wow.
something like I'm so
Wow.
excited, and I think that's
Goosebumps.
a good example uh, of A&R in the sense of just keep your eyes open to what life brings you. It's like um, you never know when that project will come to your hands, but if you're open with love for it, with genuine interest, and not because anything in particularly, not because there's a business in it, it's just because of the love of music, that project might land into your hands, and it's like I know the right person, and it will make it very special because it will come from a different place.
Mm, yeah. Wow, that's so cool. I mean, the fact that you had this dream in your head and now you're actually bringing it to fruition in such a back from a back door. I don't know. There was an interesting question that came into mind. Like, if you were, I mean, a bit of a thought experiment. Do you think that your 20-year-old self would believe if he heard where you are right now?
Oh, a friend of mine posted something about it, like with the same quote, and I was like, uh, I don't know. I mean, when I read that, it was like, wow. But I never thought about it for myself, and I think, yeah, I always dreamed doing something like what I'm doing right now.
Sick.
Um, I never imagined that it was going to be in London.
Hmm.
Um, no, no. I mean, it's been so strange how life takes you. I mean, maybe, maybe with your own story as well. Like, did you imagine that you were going to be in Bali at this age when you were like 18, or having being with the person that you're at the moment? It's like it's so hard to but I feel like that's like so magical in a way. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
I never thought I was
Yeah.
going to be you know
Yeah. I would tell you you're shitting me. I would tell you you're kidding me
yeah.
if I was 20 and you would tell me this is where I would be 13 years ago. I would go, no, no freaking way in the world. You're a liar.
Where,
Um,
how old are you?
33.
Okay, so let's let me know where you are when you are 45. I would love to know where you are when you're 45. I mean, we'll be in
You want me?
touch, but
Okay.
try to
Okay. Okay. Okay.
remember of this question, because I think this is a good. Basically, we're recording a
Yeah.
moment, and you're
Yeah.
receiving this question right now. So now you
Yeah.
have you have it there.
Yeah. This will be out there forever. I feel like that's the cool thing about this
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's gonna be out there in perpetuity. Um,
hopefully, hopefully you are where you never imagined, and it's for good.
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely. I mean, I'm definitely. I told you, I'm definitely blown away by for my life. I'm really grateful for where I'm at. So, and I hope that you're too, because I feel like what you're doing is so unique, and the ability to kind of blend your superpowers is it's admirable. It's just like something that I feel like that's what I'm doing the podcast for, right? Like to bring in people and to talk about not only like, who gets the biggest sync fees and who's the uh, uh, because these are things that you can kind of trail, like you can kind of trail these things. But I feel like speaking about people from the industry, about what makes them tick and what makes them great, is something that interests me way more than
Mm.
yeah, than numbers and details. And numbers and details sometimes come up. It's not, there's nothing wrong about that, but it's just like, it's so interesting for me to hear about people who, you know, didn't didn't necessarily, like, weren't necessarily in odds with where are at right now, you know, like where maybe the family is pressuring them to do something different, and then they find themselves like wildly successful in music, making six figures, and things like six seven figures, and who knew, kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah.
And this is the kind of information I feel like people need to hear, because some people, you know, are with children, or some people have their lives and have their thing going on. So I
Mm.
feel like, I don't know, like the question that comes into mind is, what to you makes an artist great and worthy of working with?
Mm. Yeah. There's a. I think there's a combination between talent, but also proficiency and reliability.
Yeah.
Reliability.
Yes.
Because sometimes, yes, you can have a tier A artist in your project, but if they are not putting their heart in the music, you'll get like a tier C result. Um, so, for instance, I have worked with like different categories of artists. Let's say you have the most talented, but if that person is like um, very dispersed and kind of puts you in, if it's a complex person to work with, um, I, 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 I feel that's kind of like a tricky thing, and I personally don't like working with those personalities. I think it's
Mhm.
important to have that connection. So
Mm.
I think that's why it's so important to have a personal interaction with the
Mm.
person, and that's why the personal stories work well. Because if you're arriving to a great musician, but you're just, it is, on a transactional level, uh, sometimes the the heart is not going to be there. But
Yeah.
if you're connecting with a great musician and there's been a human connection there, that person is going to give that extra energy that is necessary to make a composition that transmits something. um, because it is expression in the end of the day. uh, we work with emotions, and we try to communicate emotions rather than independently of all the mathematics that might be related to
Right.
the chord progression, or the what type of
Yeah.
sound doing, production techniques. In the end, we're working with emotions, so it needs
Yes.
to be an emotional connection to generate more emotion.
Yeah.
Because in the end, like the musical interaction is still is very intimate. Just to give you one of the things that it happened in my life. uh, I was very shy. I feel sometimes I'm quite shy when I speak about work. I'm very confident, but sometimes when I'm with new people, that sometimes I might be a bit more introverted. It varies,
Hmm.
but because I met a lot of people through music, that was the icebreaker. So
Yeah.
a lot of my friends, my best friends, are basically people that I met through music, and our initial conversations was like through listening what they were doing, what I was doing, in
Hmm.
terms of lyrics, in terms of songs. So it was
Yeah.
immediately I knew how they feel, how they like in their internal world, um,
Yeah.
rather than having all the pre conversations that you want to, what you want to project about yourself. This was straight away about what I think about heartbreaks, or
Mm.
what do I think about death.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, you know, that was already in the songs. So by meeting the people because of listening their work, their music, it was like, oh, we're in the same. I also feel the same, or
Mm.
you made me see something different. So there was like a different connection, and that's super powerful about the music. Music
Is
can change your day every day, and uh, that is like an amazing thing about it. And I see it in
yeah.
that way. Like I feel like, yes, you were talking about a podcast about the people that is behind the music, and the success, or what makes someone successful. But also, it's also interesting to talk about what didn't work out. Because everybody like to talk about the success, but also the failures. The moment that where you fail is actually when the moment when you learn, and those stories. Every musician has a different story, and that's
Right.
also an interesting thing as well. Those are like a complementary thing. This is a yin yang situation. you know there's a lot of yang on the success, but also there's also a need sometimes to speak about the other side, the
100%.
the failure that makes the balance in a way.
Yeah. So, you know what? If you took us there, and we've been taken there for a few times, but it's always interesting. Was there like a point where, like, a really big low point for you on your journey where you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing this?
uh yeah, always. I think it's like I think the moment when I decided not being a performer, because I think I mentioned it earlier. It was like, oh wow, this is super intense. Like, if I'm gonna be living my songwriting, is too hard for me. And that was, in that moment, I felt like a bit. So what I'm gonna do now? Um,
Mm.
and it
Yeah.
was a bit of a sense of, oh well, maybe I'm not that person, and
Hmm.
that's okay. And that decision led, you know, I was a bit stuck. I was like, if I at that point I was like doing the music like in one day, but the lyrics were taking me like a month,
Mm.
and it was like very intense, because you kind of leave your lyrics, or at least I was doing it. So yeah, that was a moment where I said, oh well, maybe I'm not that person. I'm gonna do. I did an album as a performer, like a solo performer, and then the rest, it's been me producing the music for other. And I feel there's like a flow that is like so natural, and I feel like I still connect with the music, and I leave when I work when I produce an album, for as a composer, as a musician, for my own personal projects, I also experience the album. um,
Yeah.
but it is in a different way, and I feel less pressure. I feel way more light. uh, I still do some songwriting of lyrics that I perform, but also of lyrics that other singers do.
Hmm.
But it's, yeah, it's way more. It's a relief, and that was through that failure
Yeah.
moment.
It's really cool, man. I feel like I can resonate with that in a way. Like I feel like a lot of the things that we do, we don't know, we don't really know what the result will be, even if we think we do. Like, I at some point thought I would be like a famous rapper. Like, that was my thought for a moment. Um, but what I did, what I did was I wrote and published a rap a day, where I would make
Hmm.
a beat and make a rap and released it. I sampled the guitar player and
Hmm.
every day for 100 days, and I would rap over them. I was working also in a juice bar, so I would
Yeah.
wake up at like 4 a.m., do it,
Wow.
go to work, get
That's
back,
amazing. Good
record the
timing to
rap.
do it.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And that was 2017. I want to say 16, 17. Um, and I mean, the things that it led to wasn't being me. It wasn't being me a famous rapper, but it brought me work ethic, crazy work ethic,
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
It gave me deadlines. It gave me all these things that I do now, that I work with now.
Yeah.
It just like I've gone through the ringer so many times.
Yeah. You
Like,
made your flight
aside from these
hours.
aside from these hundreds, I when I lived in New York, I recorded raps in a Zoom mic, like in a Zoom H2. That's how I
Yeah.
would record, because I didn't have anything else. I had this laptop and a Zoom H2, and I recorded this lousy music video every week. I used to work in a fashion studio, so every time I would close the place, I would go into one of the studios low
Oh,
key after the place.
that
It
sounds
was
amazing.
it was so special, man. It was the
Yeah.
hardest time in my life, because I didn't see how this dream pays off, because I was like in New York with, I guess, like $8 in my bank account or whatever, and then in Austin, same deal. I didn't know. I was like, this. It seems like I'm running on this treadmill without ever stopping. But what am I doing this for? Like, everything looks the same around
Yeah.
me, but it led me to where I'm at today, where I do this, like, and people, big labels pay me sometimes, like just last week to do it, and it's just like it's cool how it all comes full circle. And I think that where it meets me with our conversation is where you were talking about. Sometimes I I, I interpret it like that, and sometimes you just got to move and believe that this is what needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's special for
And
sure.
also, do you have all those recordings? Like, do you have all that
Yeah,
recorded?
it exists. It's on my Instagram page, and it's also on my YouTube. Like, I'm literally, like, I have this long hair, and I have these videos from New York.
Man, that sounds
Yeah,
like a that can be easily a book.
yeah,
That's that
it's crazy.
story plus kind of all those recordings, like, because it's like the person who goes and write like my partner writes every day 3 pages because she's an excellent writer, and
Wow.
um, I think it's like a in the end when you see that later in the years, it's like, wow, this is that's a great story. uh, and maybe that project is not finished, maybe it's just
Right.
another stage, because it
100%.
kind of sounds like that whole story is like a there's a lot there. I feel
Yeah.
like if you did that, there must be so like clearly there's passion there, so there must be like a very real material
Yeah.
that you could kind
There
of
there was it's interesting also, because I'm sure you know it from your journey, but when you write a story, when you write a like when you, especially for me, lyrics, and then I make a video or something that signifies it, I
Yeah.
remember I remember everything. Like, also, there are songs that I wrote that I remember exactly the situation I wrote it in. And I can also hear my voice and understand, like, there's a song that I wrote at like 3 or 4 a.m. because I couldn't sleep, and I wrote the song, and it starts woke up at night like 4 times, and that's the line that people like come back to me with, because they resonated with it so much, because I talk with this raspy voice, and I'm literally like I'm shooting it into the mic. I was sleeping at my little brother's room, and I just whipped out the mic, and like that's what came out the first thing. And I
Oh,
think that
that's
there's something so special in these moments, and having it on video, I can remember like what happened behind the camera sometimes, and there's like it's so special. And
yeah. I mean, it's not over yet. It's
no.
still
No.
shining with it. Like it's like yeah. You should do something with it. It's not over.
I still, yeah, no,
It's
no,
not
not at
over.
all, not at all, not at all. I sometimes bring it up just to remember, like just to remember what a crazy journey it's been to this point.
Yeah, yeah. No, that sounds great. I mean, definitely, I can imagining that as like if you could tell your story and then here's like the result. It's like a good testament of that moment. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I've made a like the first post that I've made for like my newsletter was about that. Was about the fact that, yeah, like just from to me it was like being I was a beatboxer at some point. I was a jazz guitar, started as a jazz guitar, and I was a beatboxer, and I was like making a living off beatboxing, and I thought I would do that, and then like I started rapping, and then I started producing, and then like all these things culminated, but in the end they've become what I am today.
yeah,
And
yeah.
which like to me seems like obvious, but like when I see people like you, I'm like, to you it's probably obvious to do what you do, but to me it's like, oh my god, that's freaking genius. It's a genius position to be in, the place that you're in, because you're you're involved in music in a way that's objective, in my opinion, because of course you give it your heart in a way, but you are not as invested in a lot of it as if it's yours.
Mm,
um
yeah.
and maybe, and I think there's something to be said about that, because when you can be objective about something that you create, it actually can become so much better, because you know who to collaborate with, you know who to take
Hmm.
it to, you know what to do with it. That's why, I mean, that's also why time is such an important thing in everything, right? Like in connections, in music, in everything. People just want to be taken from point A to point B, which I'm included in that. I always want the magic bullet, but it just doesn't work like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it takes a lot of honesty and to to stay in that angle as well, because it's like oh, okay, you know, I'm gonna make my decisions based on this, and yeah, but we all land at some point where we want to go if we choose with that intention.
Right, right. What is something that, man, I feel like we for this one, I always like to close with, what is something you're extremely grateful for?
Um, I feel that I'm grateful because I always been lucky to be surrounded by people that love me and care, and in different stages, and I've been able to learn from that people as well. And I always will feel grateful because of that, because that's sometimes that people happen to be in my life in the right moment. And yeah, I'm super grateful for that, because I a lot of decisions I don't know where like where things go. Really, I do know, I do have my own like a north, but it's not all about determination. It's also about the people that you are surrounded with, that the makes you stay there, like want to be there, be motivated, and yeah, inspired as well. And I always feel super grateful for the people that I've been able to, as, as I was saying initially, I was lucky to have my closest friends were very good musicians, and I learned from them. I always felt that I was the less talented, because they were like super talented people, and I learned from them. I level up, or they helped me to level up. Um, yeah, my friends from work. Um, I'm my partner, for instance. Like someone who's like super wise, and kind of. I'm learning from her as well. So it's like basically like the people that I have around. I'm always like, I feel very lucky that I've been kind of be able to have them around.
I'm sure they think the same. I feel like with people, people who surround us, there's a reason that you have this love in your life, and it's probably because you can give this love to them. So, man, I could talk about this stuff all day. I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for coming on, and it was a pleasure having you on, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Pleasure.